summer months. There were about 27, I think, that we were waiting in the period of pre-election sensitivity, and members will have seen those starting to come into the diaries. So we'll get those all scheduled, including the group that Councillor Coyle has mentioned.
Okay, moving on to page 5.
Chair, 2 items, please. Chair, if I could highlight to members the correspondence received from the Western Health and Social Care Trust. This is in relation to the second main resolution on that paper, and it related to a number of queries the Council had raised regarding the A&E Department of South West Acute Hospital, the costs around the private ambulance cover, the details of waiting times at Altnagelvin, the status of the appointments of 2 consultant surgeons, and the arrangements when those patients transferred from SWA A&E are brought to Altnagelvin, and the associated handling arrangements for those patients.
Okay, thanks, Alison. Diana?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Alison, for the letter you issued. Just in response, our reaction to the letter, I'm really not happy with the response given. I think it leaves an awful lot unsaid, and I still have major worries about disclosure. When we look, for example, at the ambulances, the Chief Executive has said average of 2 patients per day were admitted to Altnagelvin by ambulance for emergency surgery. But of the 9,000 patients going into SWA, how many were admitted but for assessment, but didn't have to be admitted to Altnagelvin? There's a large volume of traffic travelling by ambulance there. And also, on the other point of the 2 additional ambulances per day, this doesn't take account the number of private car users going to the hospital to Altnagelvin. I'd like to see information on the number of patients transferring by their own means, because that's a significant amount. We'd need that data as well. I propose that we write back seeking that information. Furthermore, in point 4 with the 2 consultant surgeon appointments, we're being told that the candidates have indicated they would accept the post and that they have requested deferral until August 2024. But is an indication sufficient to give us an assurance that these positions will be filled, and will they be filled in South West Acute Hospital? I do recall at one of the consultation meetings, Mr. Goodkeen saying that consultants in Rota had to live within 30 minutes of the hospital. So I'm hoping that these consultants will also be able to live within 30 minutes of the hospital in Enniskillen. And again, moving towards the paragraph that mentions, let me see if I can find it here, the consultant general surgeons, as we move to maximise capacity and capability at Oma Day Procedure Centre and SWA Overnight Elective Stay Centre, does this indicate that the decision about the removal of emergency services will be permanent? That's my fear from this letter. So I would like clarity just on those points. I propose that we seek further clarity from the Chief Executive. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, yep. Have we a seconder?
Syndicated.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Diana, note.
Yeah. Okay, Diana, will you note the correspondence then as well?
Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Seamus?
Thank you, Chair. Like Diana there, I am very disappointed in this letter or this response. The consultants this is July 2023. I believe they're going to let us know by, is it August or September 2024? I thought it was actually a misprint. That's what I was going to, the question I had was that a misprint? But I presume it's not. Is there any explanation why there's such a time lag in that? And the other question or thing that I saw was that patients going from Fermanagh and Tyrone had to wait twice in A&E. So they were waiting in SWA in A&E, and then when they had to be moved, contrary to promises that was made, because there was not enough beds in Altnagelvin, they were having to wait in A&E there as well. I find that extremely disappointing. Once again, broken promises. I did note that they were trying to open up beds in some other ward, but just how much planning has went into this when it could fall so quickly behind. So I'd actually want to see reassurances that that will never happen again, that sick people from Fermanagh are going to wait in A&E in SWA and then A&E in Calvin when they're moved there after a very long and arduous journey from Fermanagh to Derry. It's outrageous. So I'd like, if we are writing to again to ask them questions in relation to 2024, the consultants. I'd also like the reassurance that that's never going to happen again, where people has to wait twice, especially after travelling that journey. So I propose that.
Seamus, are you happy to second the noting? And are you happy enough if those are included in the letter? Yep. And then Seamus, are you happy to second that then overall? Are we all agreed with that, members, so far? And I'm going to bring Mark in.
Thank you, Chair. And if I could just make a proposal, or in addition to Diana and Seamus's comments so far, I think it would be useful if we were to write back to the Trust and ask them to detail the activity or the activity levels really in the elective overnight centre to date. And importantly, if we could now ask as a council for a rolling update on the activity levels, because I find unless we ask the Trust for a rolling update, sometimes the spotlight moves on from the issue. So if I can make that as a proposal, as an addition to what's being discussed.
Would you be happy enough there? Yep. Had you any idea on a roll? What?
As in, a frequency. I mean, ideally monthly. I mean, I'm really not one of these people that like sending off letters for the sake of sending off letters, but I mean, it is relatively easy or extractable data, so it shouldn't be too much of a burden for the Trust to provide that data, particularly even if it's only for 6 month basis. Or
no, it's just that I find that if we're not specific on everything, it sort of gets lost in translation. So a month there, are we all happy enough with that? Yes? Okay, John?
Thanks, Cahill. I don't want to make a proposal, but I just really want to highlight the fact that the Trust has spent £150,000 on private ambulances in 5 months. And also want to highlight that the average NHS consultant surgeon salary is £108,000 per year. It just beggars belief that the Trust has let themselves get into such a scenario that they're giving private companies £150,000 instead of just going out and employing. Well, you could get 3 to 4 consultants for that price that they want to spend over the price of a year. It's just crazy.
Okay, thanks, John. Okay, members, that's grand. We're going to move on then. Yes, on page 5, yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Just the second letter just under the Department of Health, and it's the response from the Permanent Secretary in relation to the delivery plan submissions, the activity levels, and the breakdown is provided in accordance with the information that the Council had previously requested, Chair.
Mark?
Thank you, Chair. And if I could make a further proposal that we write back to the department, and it was an oversight on my part from the original proposal last month's meeting, but if we could ask them to detail how that compares to pre-pandemic activity, because that's the important baseline. The February 2020 is the date on which all activity is measured against, because whenever I read that letter, March 2023, there were 10,000 or 10,500 attendances, which sounds very impressive. But in reality, I have a feeling that that's maybe only around 80%, or according to the Trust's own figures from elsewhere, that's still only 80% of pre-COVID activity. So in fact, that 10,500 is still significantly below the level that the Trust needs to be operating at. So it would be useful just, if I could repeat, just to how that compares to pre-pandemic, the service delivery plan baseline of February 2020.
Base, yeah. Okay. Anthony?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. And Mark, you're happy to note the correspondence there, and Anthony, you're happy to second. Okay. Are we all agreed there, members? Yep. Okay. We're going to move on then to page 5, and then page 6.
WHSTC, which I think is the